What's up, guys, and welcome to the FPL WildCats Live. Thank you so much for joining us. We are here, of course, to go over Game Week 13, how we did, and look forward to Game Week 14. As you can see, we have a special guest here, but I will, of course, let Linfria introduce him. But before we do all of that, please do hit that like button, share the stream out on Twitter, on all sorts of social media, so we can get as many people involved. Get your questions in the chat, and then take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Welcome everyone to the stream. Jay's not been too well this week, so we won't make him talk too much in this one. And of course, the special guest is, of course, Kurt. No, joking.
He's actually here at the beginning.
Yeah. Brett is away recording the FPL FYI show tonight, so that's why we have a guest. And here at the FPL WildCats, we are all about the community, as you know, and we're joined by an up-and-coming YouTuber who is probably most known as Fancy Football Focus or the Triple F, or simply known as Graham in these parts. So hi, Graham. How are you?
Hi there. Firstly, thank you everyone for having me on. Much appreciated.
So how has your FPL season been going so far for yourself?
I am ranked 676k at the moment, so not fantastic, but my season aim was not to finish in the 1 million mark.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
Personally, I'm happy.
No, that's good. So you're well on track for that at the moment then.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, as our guest, would you like to kick us off on the quick summary of your Game Week 13 and let us know how you got on?
Yeah, I scored 70 points in Game Week 13, so that was all right. KDB turning up finally since Game Week 6, I think it was. So that was nice for him to chip in. Goalkeeper-wise, Pope, 9 points back-to-back. Glad not to have to change goalkeeper yet. And defence, apart from Digne, because Everton losing against Norwich, wow, that was points lost for me. I don't think anyone saw that coming. So, in general, not bad. And Rashford was a bit of a differential for me, chipping in with points as well. Yeah. So, yeah, off the top of my head, that's what I can remember.
No, that's a great score this week. Well done, dude. Really, really good. So, Jay, would you like to give us a quick kind of summary of how you got on, if you're able?
Yeah, sure. I got 64 points, so actually saw me rise in rank again. I am now in the top 1 million, finally. Woo! It feels like it's taken a long time to get here. But yeah, so over the last 3 game weeks, that's a rise of about 1.7 million. So
that's really good.
Pope finally getting clean sheets is what I've always wanted in life. I like Pope, but he just wasn't performing for me, so it was really annoying. I did captain Mane. I thought that was the right decision for part of the game week when Mane scored and Vardy hadn't done anything yet. But then Vardy, of course, popped up with a goal and assist, so got the call wrong there. Could have seen a slightly better game week. The biggest disappointment, however, for me was the fact that my transfer in was going to be Heung-min Son as soon as I realised Mourinho was coming in and they were playing West Ham. Even the possibility of me captaining him, and then watching that game, because of course the missus and I follow West Ham, the missus supports West Ham, seeing Son score was really gutting, because I was ill, I slept through the deadline. And yeah. So I actually burned the transfer as well. That's the first time I think I've burned a transfer in a long time, but it wasn't on purpose. Shout out to Lundstrom for getting an assist. So still getting 3 points despite the fact he conceded 3 goals. And Sterling would have been out as well for Son. So the fact that he's still there and that goal was disallowed by VAR, kind of happy that happened, because I want to get rid of him. And if that goal had gone in, there'd have been that doubt about keeping him. So that's where I stand at the moment, and pretty happy.
Brilliant. Good stuff. So, Kurt, you tell us how you got on. Stranger from the start.
Yeah, welcome everyone. My name is Kurt. I don't do fantasy content and I don't appear on the FPL WildCats, but occasionally I come from the start.
He's not off the bench tonight. Yeah, he's not been subbed.
For once, I'm not being Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I'm a regular Andy Cole starter. 57 points this week. It was a mixed bag. I mean, this is going to sound really stupid and funny if I say it, so I'm going to give you a bit of warning. I didn't burn a transfer, but I felt like I did burn a transfer.
Okay,
because
explain.
Like Jay, when I saw Mourinho came in, I thought I quite fancy one of the Spurs defenders, and I was going to bring in Aurier for Janmat, which would have been a -4 for me. In the end, Janmat scored 0 from not playing, and Aurier got 4. So it would have been a transfer that got me no extra points, but wouldn't have cost me any points in the same way. But I can do it now this week. But it would have given me one free transfer this week instead of I know I would use that elsewhere, maybe for Son, someone like that. So weird sort of a thing there. But yeah, 57 points wasn't too bad. I feel like a theme for this season for me is picking a decent captain, because last season I just could not get a run of the mill with captains. I had about maybe less than 10 game weeks where I picked a captain that scored a decent amount of points, 6 or more. This week I've got Aubameyang, which again is 5 points, which isn't too bad. My vice captain was Vardy. I've been doing that a hell of a lot this season, getting a decent captain, but the vice captain forming so much better, which is a bit frustrating, but what can you do? My triple up of Leicester is beginning to work now. Soyuncu, Barnes and Vardy. Barnes, once again, though, not producing any returns. 3 games now. Admittedly, some of them have been tough. 2 tough away games and also a home game against Arsenal. All 3 of them bringing him clean sheets, though, subbed off. And now he's got a good run of forms. 3 good home games. Everton, Watford and Norwich coming up. So looking forward to that one. Mane doing all right with 9, obviously Vardy. And like Jay, I've got Pope. I've had Pope for pretty much the most of the season, if not since game week 1. So it is nice to see him coming in. And I did say a couple of game weeks ago, you need to keep Pope. And that's turned out to be quite a good choice. However, it is a hell of a lot of tough games coming up. We're looking at his fixtures; they are all red. But the good thing about Pope is that quite often he's made a lot of saves, so he's my only goalkeeper. He's not going to change throughout the entire season. I'm hoping for that. And then Lord Lundstrom almost came up with the goods, but obviously got booked because he did 3 goals against one of the relegation candidates this season, and only got 3 points off the bench for me. One maybe question mark on my team now is Rico. He had a good run of clean sheets now, 1 point against Newcastle, no points against Wolves. That's one thing that I'm not too fussed about. But 57 points is bang average. I've gone down in everything, but I'm still inside the top 500,000. So I'm relatively happy with how things are going at the moment.
Cool. I'm also pretty happy this week with my team. All green arrows, even with 13 points on the bench. Yes. On my video, I said I'd update people here as I had to record it a little early. Main standouts for me this week were, as you guys said, Pope with 9 points, Soyuncu with his clean sheet, and Lundstrom with his assist. KDB and Mane were the only players returning for me in midfield, and Vardy with his 12 points as my captain for 24. I had Mousse and Mings on the bench. Not so fussed about Mings, as I never really considered playing him with the defenders that I already had. But a little bit gutted about Mousse, because I did have a feeling in the second week of international break to play him, but I just couldn't see who to drop from my 11 in order to fit him in. I just couldn't see a gap there. I wasn't to know, obviously, that Mount would get benched, so just didn't see that coming. As I say, though, very happy. I got 68 points, so in the same sort of region, which places me at an OR of 146,503. So I got 2 transfers now, and I, like Jay, was pretty set on selling Sterling until I seen that terrible performance from Newcastle last night. Now I'm starting to second guess whether I should sell him or not, to be honest. I think also I'm wavering mainly because there's so many options. If I sell Sterling, so much money and 2 transfers, I'm a bit confused by it all. So kind of hoping the stream will help me out and make it all a bit clearer, if I'm honest. So on that note, we shall head on over to some questions. And our first one for Usman asks, should I swap De Bruyne for Son, as I plan to captain Son at home against Bournemouth? So Jay, Usman, would you say KDB for Son?
Well, I had a look at this because, to be honest, KDB is one of those that I haven't really been considering moving on, because the idea of going with absolutely no City cover kind of scares me. So, as I've been looking at Sterling out, De Bruyne was always going to be one to stay in. I always have an issue with jumping on a bandwagon too early. Sometimes it's to my detriment. I think something might happen. I want to watch and see if it does happen before I jump on. I feel like Mourinho should benefit a lot of those Spurs players, and Son, even in a side that wasn't doing that well, still has more FPL involvements than De Bruyne, 5-2 in the last 4 game weeks. So I can definitely see the argument for it. You are saving yourself 0.5 million as well on a player, and if you do have another City option and De Bruyne's the one you want out, then I would consider it. But it's just the amount of assists or chances created Kevin De Bruyne has scares me, because he has the shots on goal, and he's had 14 attempted assists, with 6 of them resulting in a shot on target. He's just the kind of all-round player that is going to be involved in goals if Man City is scoring, and I just can't not have a Man City option. So I probably wouldn't do that exact move, but I do like both players.
Just to let you guys know that Kane scored, so it's now 2-2, and it was a Lucas Moura assist. So whilst we're talking a bit about Spurs, so Graham, would you swap KDB for Son?
It's a really quite tough situation, because I feel right now both are pretty equal. There's not a lot in it. I just say that KDB is more of an assist machine than he is a goal machine, and Son vice versa. So I suppose because goals are worth more, you just edge Son. I feel like he's going to start hauling. I think Mourinho's going to play more, and that's going to give Tottenham a lot more attack. And I think Son will be in the goal. So I'd edge Son, but not really a lot in it.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Kurt? You finished your dinner?
Yeah, no, I do agree. I've still got quite a few chips, so
if anyone's wondering what he's doing.
yeah, no, half looking at the chat, half thinking, and then the other sort of 0.3% is thinking chips. No, I'm very much sort of the essence that, and especially at the start of the season, I was looking at De Bruyne thinking there were times in the previous season where he was dropping very, very deep when City needed a goal, and they needed a goal big time. They was trying to save their season. He was being pushed almost into like holding midfielder role to move the ball forward. If they attacked down the right and there was nothing there, get the ball into De Bruyne, quickly sprays it out with ease to the left, and vice versa from the left to the right. This year, especially with Fernandinho at the back, the defensive troubles, not having too many centre backs. You've got Fernandinho, you've got Rodri, you've got Gundogan. They're players that can allow De Bruyne to go forwards. Any other season, you'd have me thinking Son, but at the moment, with Man City being Man City and Mourinho's Tottenham, they've scored 5 goals now in 2 games, being 3-2 and 2-2. They're still an unknown quantity. They're 2 games in, so De Bruyne's proven, but Son will be the more differential option. And also, if he is to score big, as we say, he will score you more points. But I'd edge towards De Bruyne, which is rare for me.
Yeah. It sounds to me like Usman is feeling Sonny will do well against Bournemouth. And if that's the case, then I'm a big advocate of following your gut. So I think whilst we can say one thing about Kevin and about Sonny, I genuinely think if you feel like you've planned to get Son in and captain him, then you should probably follow through with that if that's what you're feeling, because you'll only be gutted if for some reason Sonny went absolutely ballistic and you didn't follow your gut. On the other hand, it'll still be gutting if it doesn't pay off and you've sold KDB and he does something, but at least you kind of went with what you were feeling. I mean, if you really weren't sure, then it's a different story, but I think it sounds like you've kind of already made up your mind, really. Okay, we'll do one more of the questions before we go to the chat. So at J_C_07 says, should I get Mount out for Zaha/Martial, or should I get Rico out for PVA? So Graham, what do you think on a swap from Mount to Zaha/Martial? And if not, should you get Rico out for PVA?
I'm not too sure on the Bournemouth fixtures, actually, but I think with PVA, I don't think Palace's fixtures look too kind. So that would go for the same as Zaha, saying that the fixtures don't look too kind. So out of all of them, I'd have to say Martial maybe for goal involvement. I think that would be the move I'd go in that scenario.
Cool. And what do you think, Kurt?
To be fair, I don't really know. I've not really got an opinion on that, and it sounds bad. I generally couldn't give you an answer. I don't know. Split.
Oh my God, for the first time. Jay, you've actually rendered Kurt speechless. Oh my God.
For the first and only time, hopefully. I genuinely don't have an answer for you.
What do you think, Jay? Anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, Bournemouth's fixtures do start to look pretty bad, and they're not a side that are known for clean sheets. So I wouldn't be against getting rid of Rico. The fact his price is so low, though, I think it's one of those players that even if he does have bad fixtures, you can just put him on the bench, because I never brought Rico in thinking I'd actually play him. Yeah. So the fact that he was returning points was kind of a bonus for me, instead of like now I need to get rid of him because the fixtures are tough. As far as the midfielders go, I think Zaha's one of those that we all know what he is capable of. If he does start to play well for Palace, he can kind of carry them to some points, get goals almost by himself or assists by winning penalties. Of course, you could be leaving yourself with disappointment there with VAR, because he could win a penalty and it'd be scratched off if you're watching the games. As far as the actual three midfielders go, I think I do like the look of Martial. But right now, I feel like Martial coming in is very important for Manchester United, but I almost feel like Rashford's going to be the one that does the best out of Martial coming back into the side. As far as actual returns in the last four, Martial is the top out of them with 20, Zaha with 15 points, and Mount with 10 points. So I wouldn't be against getting in any Manchester United option. I don't think you're necessarily going to see him win games, but I do think you'll see him score goals. So I would say Martial in, because I think Pulisic is probably a better option than Mount. So if you're looking at rejigging your side, then I can see sense in both of the moves you're thinking of making. But it is quite a big jump from Rico to Van Aanholt. So potentially saving some money on Mount if you wanted to get rid of Mount to make that move to Van Aanholt, I couldn't argue with.
Yeah, I'm going to hold Mount this week. I think he was just rested for the busy festive period, if I'm honest. I don't really feel like he was dropped or rotated.
I think he was very tactical as well. I think against Man City.
Yeah. It was. You look at the midfield they had. It's Mason Mount is very much an attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
It looks like, for me, he was brought out of midfield not for any other reason apart from they wanted to make sure they contain City, because you take Mount in, who plays attacking midfield, all of a sudden you make a few wrong passes and you're getting torn apart, and the game's over within a flash of the blink of an eye. Sorry. So
yeah,
I think it was just tactical. He'll come back.
Yeah, definitely.
He's a Lampard favourite.
Yeah.
If he gets rotated again, then I would consider dropping him myself. But at the moment, I'm not too worried. As Jay said, Rico is just great for his price. Palace do have a nice run of fixtures also. I would go with the player you'll field the most, which again is something that Jay touched upon. Upgrading player if they'll mostly sit on your bench. So if you're going to go from Rico to PVA, that's a bit of a jump in price. If you're just going to have him sat on your bench, then it's probably not worth the extra cash. But if you're feeling like your midfield is your defense is suffering, and you do feel like you want an extra player to help kind of bolster that and just shore it up, then I guess you could go with a punt on PVA is probably what I'd say there. So Kurt, do we have any questions from the chat, please, from our jamboree?
Yes, we do. First test complete. I remembered to look at questions.
Boom.
I was worried.
Whilst eating chips, I mean multitasking.
I thought it was going to be like,
do we have any
yeah, let me
questions from the
find some.
chat? Oh snap! Let me just. Here's one. No, it's sort of it's one question from FPL Alex _ the kid who says Tamori to Aurier next week, but it's sort of broader question, for me as well, because I'm looking at getting Aurier in. What are people's thoughts on Aurier, and also is Tamori to Aurier a good choice?
Well, he got the assist for Ali tonight, so that looks good.
Games.
But obviously, they have conceded 2 goals tonight, so I don't know how. Obviously, I haven't seen under the circumstances to see how bad the defense was. He's definitely an option. How much is he, Kurt?
4.8.
Oh, it's not bad actually, is it? Considering.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I can't say. To me, Chelsea have been pretty decent at the back, and Tamori to me always looks quite threatening. So he is definitely one of those defenders that I quite like. Those kind of running down the wings and crossing the ball in, that sort of thing. So I'm not. Did Chelsea's fixtures turn? I can't remember, to be honest. If they stay much the same and they're pretty good,
Chelsea
then
have
they've got a good
fixtures.
4.
Yeah, Chelsea are
coming
good.
up. West Ham, Aston Villa,
Yeah.
Everton, and Bournemouth. Then they go into a couple of hard games. Spurs.
I guess it depends on whether you want a bit of a
Arsenal.
differential, I suppose, isn't it? I haven't got Tamori, and I guess he's one of those ones that when he does do something, I suffer from not owning him. So I probably look to feel like I want him in more than, say, if you've got him and you're considering your other options, I suppose. So as somebody who's got him, Kurt, you're obviously considering it. Jay, what do you think about Aurier as an option?
See, the thing with I've got a problem with Chelsea in general as a defence, because I feel like while they do have a good defence, they're very prone to lapses of judgment late on. So while they have got some clean sheets, there's also been games where I feel like they should have got clean sheets and then it all went to pot right at the end. And for that reason, for a while, I've been thinking of moving Tamori on, just I've had more pressing matters. For me, I think Aurier's probably going to have more potential for attacking returns. If Mourinho does start to get the side to play how he wants them to play, I'd imagine they'd start becoming stronger defensively, but a lot of that matters on if he can get certain players on side before the January transfer window, because he has good defenders there, good centre-backs there, who could do a very good job for him if he could get them on board. But it just seems too early for me to jump on any Spurs defender when Chelsea have the better fixtures, so I probably wouldn't make that move myself just yet. But I am one that is thinking of changing Tamori myself.
Okay, interesting. And Graham, do you own Tamori, and would you consider changing him?
No, I don't own either of them two. But I just think with Mourinho having just come in, we should wait and see how much Aurier will feature. He might be just a Champions League player. I mean, he might have got the assist tonight. It might be that. We don't fully know. I'd just go minutes-wise. Tamori is going to be playing at the moment. But it is like J&O said, it's the clean sheet thing. Could he keep that? But based on you want a player to start, I'd just edge Tamori there.
Cool. Okay. A regular on the stream at FPL_JRF asks, 1 player to get rid of, 1 player to hold, and 1 player to get in for the up-and-coming game weeks. So, Kurt, if you had to get rid of a player, hold a player, and get 1 in, who are you going for? Who are your 3?
Ooh, is this a get rid of in general or get rid of out of my squad that I've got?
I took it as generally. Yeah, I took it generally. Yeah.
Okay, so
because obviously he might have somebody different than you.
Yeah, so I'll have a look at. I'll have a look at the the most owned players. I would say. I mean, it is in my squad. I'd say, although I said I wouldn't ever do it, it's probably Aubameyang at the moment.
Okay.
He just looks like a and considering it was goals. You look at game week 8, onwards, he's grabbed a goal and assist.
Yeah.
That's not good enough. So, and he is quite owned.
Just don't get me started on Arsenal right now. Seriously, I might not stop.
Don't ask me this question.
Join the club.
Aubameyang I'd get rid of. At least until you see Arsenal either A, improve under Emery, or B, potentially get rid of Emery.
Improve under Emery. That's hilarious. It's the funniest thing you said all night.
Come on, get it off your chest. What else do you want to talk about?
Oh, we just need a new manager now. We just need a new manager. It's nothing to do with disrespecting Emery. I think, he came in, he did fairly well last season, and I think the main thing is that the players that we have just do not suit his style. I think I've maybe seen an Emery football match twice with this Arsenal team where they fully implemented his system, and one time it paid off and one time it didn't. And I think that's just the issue, is that what he wants to do with this team just isn't working out. And because we're losing matches, because the fans are getting on the players' backs, everybody's upset. So I just think that means he's lost the dressing room now, and I don't really see how he'll get that back, because he has to continue playing his football the way that he knows how to manage this team. And so with that, he kind of doesn't know how to do any different, if you see what I mean. And he doesn't strike me as the type of manager who can easily adapt as well to trying something new. I mean, for God's sake, it's clearly not working, playing out from the back, and yet we still continue to do it. So yeah, I think we do need a new manager now, and even if it doesn't work out, I just think we have to try something different, because come January, the likes of Aubameyang, as you were saying here, and some of our biggest stars are going to walk or make noise to start walking. And that is the last thing that we need. We definitely need to hold on to those players, and we need to give them something to fight for. There is a lot of talk this week about a new manager, definitely. I think even Graham was saying earlier that there's some tout that...
Just copying Spurs. I can't believe you're copying Spurs.
North London is white.
I can't believe Spurs actually, got rid of somebody and actually decided to switch
I think
it
they
up.
did it to beat Arsenal to Mourinho. Because it just seems so quick. And if they were going to do it, why didn't they do it earlier in the international break?
Yeah.
It just seems
you might be
strange.
right, but I can't say that. I mean, hey, do I think Jose will lead Spurs to do well? Yes, probably. He is a manager with pedigree, but is he right for Arsenal? No, I don't think he would.
I mean,
he would have
once
been.
it hits year 3, I don't think he's right for anyone. But before then,
it's a fair point.
Aurier goal apparently.
Yeah, I was going to say, City have been levelled by Shakhtar, and Tottenham have scored 3-2 up. So Aurier has already been transferred into my team.
Yeah, that question earlier, bring Aurier in. Goal and an assist, bring him in.
But to avoid sort of going further off topic, the player I'd get rid of was Aubameyang. I just realised I set him on a trail of destruction about Emery and Arsenal. So much so, what are the other two players I'm talking about?
A player to hold and a player that you would get for the up and coming fixtures.
Okay, well, player I'd get is now Aurier. I think hopefully he doesn't get benched. But
it's a Son assist.
Son's maybe another one, but I think Aurier 4.8. If you go on to you look at history and you go off history from Mourinho teams, that first year, or at least for after the first year, they are rock solid at the back. And even Manchester United, I think one of the years he got 19 clean sheets out of 38, and the team he had were useless to say the least. So I think Aurier, at least this season at 4.8, he's continued to attack. And granted, he's a liability. At any point, he could just 2-foot someone in their chest and get sent off. But I quite like that, and I think Mourinho likes that as well. So that's the player I'd bring in to hold. I mean, again, I'm probably going to get a bit of stick for this one as well. It's probably Raheem Sterling. I think he's not had not had a good few game weeks. He's got no goals, no assists, but he's had a bad run of things.
Are they
He's
at home tonight in the champs, or are they away?
Yeah, they're home. So
Jesus assisted and it was a Gundogan goal for that.
yes.
City.
But I just think at the moment as well, with Aguero potentially out, Sterling's even a potential to front the line. I think you've got, I suppose you use the eye test in some way, and he looks like he's playing well. He's just not getting rub of the green. I think VAR at the moment, I'm all for VAR, but I think it needs to change. You look at the way it works in tennis, in cricket, they don't stop and look at every decision with a fine tooth comb. They think, right, you go with the referees until you challenge it, until you think, actually, I'll challenge that call. That's the way it should be in football. And if that was the case, then obviously Raheem Sterling have a lot more goals. But at the moment, they're going by the books, so can't complain about that too much. But yeah, to hold, I'd say Raheem Sterling, and I am going to hold Raheem Sterling. He's in my team, so I'm putting my £12 million worth of FPL money where my mouth is, saying I am going to be keeping hold of Sterling for the next 4 game weeks, which is Newcastle away, Burnley away, Man United at home, and Arsenal away. As I read them out, I realise that's a really stupid call, but I've already said it now, so I'm going with it.
Well, the Arsenal away is fine.
Yeah, the Arsenal away is a banker. That's a hat-trick waiting to happen. But the other 3, they are tough games coming up. But I'd keep Sterling. That's the one I'd keep.
Well, I can't believe I'm saying this, but if you still have him, I would get rid of Aguero. Oh God!
Is there a breakup?
Injury reasons. I would. I did my trending transfers this week, and one of the trendiest goal defenders out was actually.
Oh wow, it's 4-2.
Oh gosh, to Spurs.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Would be. I'll get through this question for JR. Would be Trent. I know many are switching him out completely or moving over to Robson, but I'm going to give him another game week or 2 before, considering switching him to somebody else, or selling completely. And the one player I get is quite difficult because that's kind of the thing I'm struggling with myself this week. I think I can absolutely see Pulisic running the show against West Ham this week. So short term, maybe Pulisic. Long term, Rashford or Son, it would be for me. What about yourself, Graham?
Sorry, what was the question? I was just looking at the goals. Lewandowski scored 4 goals.
Wow. Okay. Have you got him, Jay? Oh, well done. Yeah. So a player to get rid of, a player to hold, and a player for the up and coming.
Okay, so my player to hold would be KDB, because where he'd been off of form since game week 6, and then he's gone and got the goal last game. And watching him, he actually looked pretty sharp. So I'd hold KDB. And then if we're talking about money, having enough money, then I'd bring in Mane and I'd actually get rid of Sterling. I'd just go for form. It's as simple as that. And that's what I'd do.
Okay, cool. And Jay?
Well, a lot of the ones I was thinking of have been said. I would have to agree with getting rid of Aubameyang. I think until that Arsenal situation resolves itself, Lacazette actually looked quite clinical though, but Aubameyang's one you can get rid of. I was going to say to keep Trent. I'm personally going to get rid of Sterling, so I suppose you could add him for one that I'll be getting rid of. To bring in though, I have a few names that haven't been mentioned. Jose Perez, who disappointed so many of us for the beginning of the season.
He's
4 goals in 4 games at the moment. Then you've also got John Fleck. I know we don't like to talk too much about Sheffield United players, but he's had 3 FPL goals.
We don't mind.
I'm just trying to not do it too often because I know I could just talk about John Lundstrom all stream, but I won't do that.
That's fine. I've come to accept him. He's okay.
And Moutinho from Wolves as well. I think potentially there's a lot of good options in that Wolves side to bring in. So those would be my shouts.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a Kane brace, by the way, and an Eriksen assist for that 4th goal. So, yeah. Okay, FPL Maestro wants to know, should we get Pulisic or Son? So it's quite a popular question. So Maestro, if you were to head on over to the Scout members area and use their comparison tool, you'll see that Sonny is winning out on stats at the moment. He's got more stats, and he's just edging it slightly better at the moment with more starts and played more minutes. However, Sonny has less goals than Pulisic, so 4 to Pulisic's 5, but Sonny has more assists with 6 to Pulisic's 3. God's mouthful. For me, it's as I said a bit earlier, Pulisic for the short term, owning to possible rotation, but probably Sonny long term is what I would say. But what do the lads think? Would you go with Pulisic or Son? Let's go with Graham first.
I'm going to say this just because Pulisic is in my team, so I'd stick with Pulisic. And I think Chelsea really do look good this season under Lampard, and full of attacking threat, absolutely full of it. And with Son, he's a brilliant player, but let's just wait how much Mourinho parks a bus. Obviously, he's not parked it tonight. But yeah, just edge it with Pulisic there.
Cool. And Kurt?
Sorry, I was watching the it said goal Kane assist ball boy.
Is there anybody
I'm not
here
watching
with me?
any of the football. I'll have to watch it later.
I would say Son.
I'll just come to Jay first every single time. We're meant to be giving him a break with his sore throat.
Yeah, I was going to say. I'd go Son, just simply because I think you look at Chelsea, and not to say he would, but Pulisic, with the wingers they've got, is always going to be a rotation risk for me. As lethal as he can be, if you've got Callum Hudson-Odoi fit and firing, you've got Pedro still there to do a job, you've got Willian as well, potentially even Mason Mount to be pushed down there. There's a lot of options there, so I think Son is nailed on. I think you can't really drop Son. If you do drop Son, who do you drop Son for in Spurs? There's no one really. So
that's the only one I can think of.
Right. I was taking serious answers, but we're going to take a joking answer there, Eric Miller. Yeah, I like Son. I think he's guaranteed.
To be fair, we probably should have found out what Brett was going to say, really, and advised the opposite, shouldn't we?
I think there was
should have given me Brett's script.
There was a comment saying, "Can we know who Brett's captain is?"
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, bless him. He's not had a good time of it, has he? And what about yourself, Jay? Anything different to that?
Get both in.
Oh, just like that.
Like at the moment, from midfielders' standpoint, they are 2 of the midfielders with the most goals and assists. If you're looking at them joint together, both attacking players, both likely to get goals. I do agree that Son is probably a bit more nailed on. Mourinho isn't the type of manager that rotates much, so for security of start, Son is the favoured one. But you've got to understand that Pulisic is just that much cheaper, and the value in Pulisic right now, if he keeps returning, even if he slows down just a little bit, there's great value there for 7.5 million.
Jay, do you think then that we could consider Mora again if you don't think that Jose does much rotation if he started the last 2 matches?
I think if he starts again this weekend, then I think you're looking at the starting 11 pretty much. Because from what I understand, it hasn't changed for this Champions League game. There will, of course, be every now and again someone will be rested, but I think with Mourinho you do get kind of the starting 11 kind of makes itself clear, which is one of the benefits of him as a manager. So as long as you get the good bits of form from his side, you can be pretty confident in certain players always playing, which is a plus for us.
Yeah, cool. Okay, Kurt, can we have a question from the chat, please?
Yes, let me just get one up that I screenshotted.
I think I'll have to figure out some sort of signal to give you when I'm coming to you next.
Well, I forgot my notepad, so I was a bit.
Hang on, I don't make a cue.
I've got a question from Elite FPL, so let's go over to them.
Guys.
They've got a question saying who to bench this game week: Lundstram, Mount, or Soyuncu?
Oh, that's a horrible question.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Jesus.
nice easy one there. Well, I've got all three of them. And I'm just going to my team now to see whether I was planning on playing all of them.
Why would you bench him? I don't know the rest of the team. That's
Yeah.
the issue there.
Yeah, see, for me, like, if Moose hadn't have got injured, then I'd have had probably more of a headache there and probably would have maybe benched. I wouldn't bench Mount against West Ham. I don't know if everyone's agreed with me there.
Yes, I agree with you there.
Yeah, because I just can't see him not playing. I just can't see him not playing this week, especially, they're going to be, Chelsea going to want to attack that with all guns blazing, aren't they? So Lundstram or Soyuncu were the other two, weren't they? Oh, God.
I mean, I have an opinion, but I wouldn't be 100% confident in it, and I wouldn't want anyone to just follow me blindly. Make your own decision. But if I had to pick one of them...
That's just harsh.
Because I know I'm going to say this, and someone's going to come back and go, you said...
I told you so.
But the thing is, it's Sheffield United away at Wolves, and Wolves have started to look more like the Wolves we remember from last season. So I feel like Lundstram will have to get an attacking return. Leicester against Everton at home. Everton just do not look like a good side at the moment. They're not the Everton from the end of last season. So I think Mount you can't drop, and I personally think Soyuncu you can't drop right now. I wouldn't personally want to. I'd want to play all three, but if I had to pick one, I would go with Lundstram.
And what about yourself, Graham?
Totally agree with that. Wolves fixture, Wolves will score. If Man United managed to put 3 past, then I think Wolves will do the same. So for that reason, the other two look more likely to keep a clean sheet or score in Mount's case. Drop Lunny. Yeah,
I mean, for me, my other two defenders are Rico and Mings, so it makes it a bit easier to play Lundstram because you're just there going, please get an attacking. Anything you'd disagree with there, Kurt, or you?
No, I'd have to drop Lundstram. Unfortunately, again, I'm also in a situation where I've got Soyuncu. I don't think he'll be dropped at home to Everton. I'm going to be bringing Aurier in for Jan Matt, so that'll be my third defender. My other two are Rico and Dunk. So, neither of those two are going to be playing.
And can I just say, I'm not I don't want to go into the details for the elite guys, but they're only away for a week, guys, so stick with them. They will be back soon. They've had some troubles with YouTube, but they will be back soon. Just stick with them, and they're a great bunch of guys and do some great content. So, make sure you go on over and subscribe to them because they will be back with their content soon. So, and I think they are still streaming on Twitch, so you can catch them there if you need to. Okay, do we have another question in the chat, please, Kurt?
Yes, FPL Tips with a Z.
Hey, Tipsy.
Says captaincy picks for this week. There are so many to choose from.
Well, we have Brett on the FPL FYI show this week, but we also have a bit of another Wildcat, don't we? Giving some captaincy shouts this week, Jay.
Yeah, I'm not sure I should give it now because you need to go watch me on that.
No, we want the views.
We want the answer first.
Yeah, exclusive on the Wildcats.
Well, I was attempting to be clever last week and went Mane, but I just think at the moment, why give yourself a headache when Jamie Vardy is there against Everton at home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult this week, isn't it? For me, it's like I said in my video, it's Tammy or Vardy. Now, Vardy hasn't let me down and he's in form, and Tammy has the fixture. So I'm really stuck on this one this week, but I've struggled to take the captaincy away from Vardy. Literally, since Vardy has been in my team, he has done no wrong. Most players, when I buy them, they die. But Vardy has flourished and he's having a party. So,
my rise in rank coincides with when I brought in Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just a hero.
But
jealous.
I think at some point though he is very close to being owned by almost half of the game now. So at some point it's going to do us no good to continue captaining him in terms of making way in the rank if everyone has him and captains him. But for the moment, I think we're all right. But Kurt, what about yourself? Are you thinking Vardy? You think somebody else?
Yeah, there's that fear with Vardy at the moment, as you say, that his ownership's becoming so high. So you've got that banker, and the way I look at things, the way I looked at things last season, probably where I didn't do too well, was that I had that banker, but I thought, no, that's not good enough. I want to get a captaincy pick that like the whole of myself and 7 other people have got in their teams. And I'm the only one that's captain. So when he mega hauls, and this was me thinking when, not if, when he mega hauls and reap the rewards, never worked. The easy option with a vice captain would always get the points, but you can dream. I don't know really. I quite like Tammy Abraham against West Ham.
Yeah.
I'm quite enticed by that. I'm also, this is a bit of a shout, enticed by maybe even, and this is the stupid side of Kurt that needs to be contained and put back into his box every now and again.
The bat shizzle Kurt.
Yeah, the bat shizzle Kurt. Thinking, let's go
out.
bat shizzle crazy and Captain Aurier.
Oh my word.
That could be a clean sheet. He's got a goal and assist tonight. He's got an assist also in his first game. You look back through the history as well. Let me just go and get Aurier up.
Oh God, here we go.
Should I get this season? He's got 3 other assists. He got the 2 assists in the Crystal Palace. He looks good. He's had goals ruled out and assists ruled out through VAR. I think this could.
I think Kurt wants this so much so that we don't talk about Lundstrom anymore. He wants Aurier to be the main defender this season, so we don't have to talk about Lundstrom anymore.
He's actually cheaper than Lundstrom now as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm fine with Lundstrom, but you mentioned O'Connell, and I'm going to flip the table. Lundstrom, I've come to accept.
We're allowed 1 per position.
Yes,
yeah? one in midfield, 1 in attack, 1 in defence. No more.
That's it.
But yeah, the stupid side of Kurt would say Aurier, but you can't look past Tammy Abraham at the moment.
Okay, and Graham, what about yourself?
Well, I am very jealous of you Vardy party owners, but in preference to my own squad, I'd go Tammy. But if I had him, I'd go Vardy. So Vardy.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, talking of Vardy, at Vardy Boys is asking the same question as me this week. What to do with Sterling? Time to switch to mid-price mids instead, e.g. Pulisic, Son, Maddison, etc. So you're sticking with Sterling, Kurt.
Yeah.
If you were considering selling, or how long are you willing to stay with Sterling before selling, and who would you get for him if you sold him?
Whilst he's in and around all the action, and he's looking like he's going to score, because at the moment I think he's playing well. I think also he'll have that confidence boost of being shortlisted on the Spotty. I can't think of actually what it's actually called, but sports personality of the year. That'll boost him up. And it's not as if Sterling, you look at Sterling and you think, how's he still in the team? He's playing awful. He's playing really well. He's just been denied a few goals that he would have got last season because of VAR and a few assists as well. So whilst he's still involved in things, I'm not too fussed. It's a big 12 million to have not performing. But again, I'm above the average most weeks. I've got other players around him. But when he does start picking it up again, it could be a good chance for him to start performing again, hopefully. But if it comes down to, Newcastle and Burnley away, if he doesn't perform in those 2, then I could seriously be, or it's not to say he doesn't perform, if he doesn't get any returns in those 2, then it will become reality. Because as much as we want to joke about how some of the bigger teams are pants, Man United at home, Arsenal away, Leicester at home, could all be tough games. We're looking at Arsenal away is Sunday the 15th of December. By then, Emery could have been sacked. You could have brought in a new coach, and he could have reinvented the Arsenal defence, and they might actually learn what a defender is rather than a player that stands around and does nothing. So they never know. There could be tough games, and Man United as well. They may have Poch, and they may also turn up. That's the other thing. The Manchester Derby, when they were poor under Mourinho, what happens? Man United turned up, come back 3-2. So I'd say the next 2 game weeks, doesn't get any returns in those 2. He most likely is gone, unless he isn't, like I say, next 2 games, VAR robbed. Well, not VAR robbed, but close VAR decisions not going his way. It's not a robbery. It's still by the law, but hey-ho.
Right. Well, I'm going to disagree with you.
Oh, what's the point of me being here?
So I can disagree with you. That's your wrong. Not against the Arsenal thing, of course. It's completely true on the defence and all of that. But I actually think Sterling has been quite poor recently. I am annoyed at myself that when I sold him the first time that I didn't have the guts to like basically stick by that decision, because to think how much better off I'd be now if I hadn't have kind of insisted on getting him back in that panic that everybody owned him, so I had to have him as well. And there is a lot to be said about that. Obviously, if he'd done well, in these last few weeks and been getting consistent returns, I would be in trouble, because his percentage owned is quite high. But when I've been watching those matches now the last few weeks, I genuinely sit there thinking, I don't know what that 12 million is for right now. Like, I'm not seeing a lot from him that's making me think, it's like I said in my video this week, if he had been creating chances all over the place, he'd been getting in the box all week, like all through that game, and all that sort of stuff, it'd be a different story, because like Jay says, there's always that potential then that player can do something for you. But I actually feel like the only real chance he had was that offside VAR goal, and it does feel like he's getting quite lucky with some of his returns. Now, what could change the whole situation for Sterling would be Aguero being out. So what might happen now is that obviously Sterling might move slightly higher up front with Jesus and Mendy, a bit more on the wing. But I'm assuming that's what they've done tonight, and he hasn't really got involved tonight. So I'm in exactly the same dilemma basically as Vardy boys. But my thought process at the moment is that cheaper players are doing better right now, and I could get 2 of those cheaper players in form for Sterling's cash. So it feels like the week to be selling him is the wrong week, because I do feel like he could do nuts this week. But do I feel like he'll continue on in that form for the rest of the season? Right now, no, I don't. And can we all live in fear of one game from him? And I assume Jay feels somewhat the same if he's considering selling Sterling himself. Is that right, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are comparing it to Mohamed Salah last year, because a lot of people were thinking of selling him. I think it was roughly around this time last season. But I think the difference there is Salah was still consistently returning. It just wasn't as highly as we'd expect. However, if you look at Sterling, the last 4 game weeks, 1 goal. That's it. And there's plenty of players with better underlying stats with a lot more goal returns for a lot cheaper. And like Dim said, you can get 2 of them in for the price of Raheem Sterling. And the fact is, if it does get to a point where he does start returning again, you can always make the move to bring him back in.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times it's just being a bit too patient. Like, I've always had that issue. I've done it with Kane before, whereas I feel like Kane hasn't really returned like he has done in previous seasons. There was a season I kept him until around the Christmas period and was like, you know what, you're too expensive for what you're actually giving me. Salah, I think I could have potentially moved to Mane earlier this season. And I think sometimes you can just make the move if you're really looking at it and thinking the likes of Pulisic, Son, you've got Maddison, Perez, Willian, all of these players are actually returning better than Sterling. And if Sterling does start returning again and the situation changes, then you can make a move. It might take 2 game weeks. But at least then, if the form does continue to be poor for Sterling, you've done something about it.
Yeah, and I mean, and the fixtures are so close over Christmas that you can amass those transfers up pretty quickly to make those transfers to get him back, hopefully fairly simply. And what about yourself, Graham? Do you own Sterling, and what's your situation on him?
I'm very fortunate. I got off of him ages ago, and I haven't suffered because of it. When I did get rid of him, I was nervous because last season, if he didn't get points, then the next game he'd return with a hat-trick or something. So it didn't matter for the games when he did miss points. Just doesn't seem to be that case this season. I got a little bit lucky getting rid of him, really. And since then, sort of Mane performing and KDB when he did perform. And like I say, there's a lot more budget options out there. Why waste the £12 million sterling? There's no point. So yeah, I'm just go for form. Just go for that.
Yeah, I think like for myself, I'm aware that McGinn's fixtures start to change now for me in my midfield, and from selling Sterling, I could get Son and Martial this week, for free, and it just, when I look at it like that, it feels like I'm upgrading. Not that McGinn's done anything particularly wrong. My God, he could have scored so many goals last night. I was like, oh my God. And his underlying stats are brilliant, but his fixtures do get a lot tougher now. And whilst I could still see him nicking, a little something here or there, and I think that I could upgrade to somebody else with slightly better fixtures and a bit of better form at the moment, then I start to think, yeah, well, why not just go for it? I think my main issue is just there are so many options. So with Muse, I'm not really entirely sure how bad this injury is, whether it'll just be out for 1 game week, 2 game weeks or what. And so then I start to think about, do I want Rashford? and then if I want Rashford from Muse, then I obviously will have to hold McGinn another week. And it means moving Sterling to somebody 8.4, I think, or less. So literally Ali's price, I think it was last night, or less. So I still got a lot of thinking to do, but yeah, I just think at the moment maybe it's time to be a bit brave with Sterling, but I definitely think this week he could do well. It's just whether you think then that's going to be the spark into a good run of form again, or whether that's going to be a one-off, really. Okay, Kurt, do we have another question in the chat, please?
Yes, we did have one that I thought we'd get to. But actually, I'm going to go back to the... that's why. That's why I didn't look at that one.
See, this is why Brett usually does the questions.
Yeah, I'm starting to think, I don't really offer much in it, do I?
Just get distracted. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
I could ask this question, but actually this one looks good.
It is like that. I've got the memory span of a fish. I just look at something. It's basically just like, I'll just get distracted so much. I'll go one from Mickey. He had I'm not sure he was serious, or at least I hope he wasn't serious. It's not a good start, is it? It's not a good start. I'm just going to start doing better things. Yeah, I've got another question from the chat, guys. Are you ready for it? Here we go. Anyone going in for Palace players?
I mean, to be honest, I'm tempted.
Silence.
No, I have considered it because fixture-wise, they do have decent fixtures. Burnley away, Bournemouth at home, Watford away, Brighton and Albion at home, Newcastle away, West Ham at home. So the fixtures are there. Just none of their players stand out enough for me to go, okay, you're showing me enough that I fancy you over those 6 fixtures. So that is my only issue. I mean, you have players, Ayew, for instance, has been quietly scoring goals. We all know maybe Zaha will up his form because he wants to move in January. I don't know. PVA can always pop up with a goal or an assist. And Roy Hodgson isn't the worst defensive manager in the league. So,
good old boy.
I want to look at that fixture list and go, okay, that's a team I need to target. But nobody stands out as a great option from that lot. So that is why I can't really recommend a player. But the fixtures are definitely nice. That's the best I can do for you, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's only a few you would really consider, isn't there? Let's be honest. So are you, if you're struggling for funds up front, but at the moment there's probably better options. Zaha, as you said, is probably the best option, and then maybe PVA at the back. Not myself. What about you, Graham? Are you considering any Palace?
I think Zaha looked kind of sharp, but then he always goes off the boil if he does start to look good. So I don't know, really. Gary Cahill, can we say that?
Yeah. Cahill could be a shout.
I mean, he's lost a bit of pace, but still defensively, tactically, he's got Palace a bit more organised, but you can't rely on one player. Not really anyone that stands out, to be honest.
Kurt, what about yourself? Are you going to Palace it up, my friend?
Dirty Palace. No Palace for me.
Octavius.
Not even trying to entertain.
There is no one in that Palace team that.
I think that's the end of a budding friendship right there.
No one.
The rest of us tried for you, Nick.
No one interests me.
There's
picked
no
out
more
your
drinks.
question just to say nah.
No more drinks for you at the next social there, Kurt.
I'm feeling that, yeah.
Should we move on quickly with another question?
We should do. Should do.
Swiftly,
yeah.
A question here from, and I apologise, I always butcher names, but I'll give it a good go. Shashank Patole, and he says, who's a bigger trap, Salah or Sterling?
Ooh.
We all love a good FPL trap.
We do.
It's a trap.
Oh gosh. I don't think if Salah is fit that he's a trap. Like I think a lot of him falling Kurt's face and like going back to the Salah out days there. I think that a lot of why Salah has been off the pace this season has been because he hasn't been fully fit, because he's had this ankle injury. And I think now with the international break and then not playing the last match, genuinely one of my options for Sterling has been Salah. If he plays tomorrow night, I think they are. If he plays tomorrow night and looks much more like Mo Salah, I am going to consider that swap as a bit of a differential and go attack. So out of the two, I guess I'd have to say Sterling, as it would be Sterling for Salah if I was going to do that. But obviously, it all just depends on whether or not he's got over this injury. So I would use that. I would use tomorrow as a good indication to know whether that's over and done with. But what do we think, Jay? Which one's a trap for you?
Right now, I'd have to go with Sterling because I feel like you said, Salah's had this injury. I mean, that in itself could be a trap because he could start and then re-injure himself. But Salah was returning. The thing with Salah is he just wasn't returning like we'd want him to for that price. Whereas I feel like at the moment Sterling's just not even a consistent returner. So for me, Sterling is the trap. But I think both, of course, are very capable of suddenly turning it on and being the players that got them their price tags. I would just say that I feel like with at least Liverpool, there's a core group of players where you can expect the points to really come from, and Salah is one of those. Whereas I think at City, there's so many options that they can score lots of goals and your player isn't involved. Whereas I think if Liverpool score, Robertson, Trent, Firmino, Salah and Mane, one of those is going to be involved somewhere in that goal, nearly the majority of the time.
Yeah. And what about you, Kurt? Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I'm gonna have
Oh,
to
you're
go
still
Salah.
on the
I'm
Salah.
gonna have to go Salah. I mean, I looked at the question. I thought I can see why people have asked it, but I've got to go with Salah just simply because it's. I said I'd keep Sterling, so I don't. At the moment, I don't think Sterling's a trap, but time will tell. At the
And
moment, I have to
Graham?
say Salah.
Okay, sorry, Graham.
Well, Salah is Egyptian, and they're normally good at setting traps in pyramids. But I definitely have to go for Sterling. He's been off the boil, absolutely. Yeah, Sterling for me.
Okay, so yeah, cool. Okay, I have one here from Chris, and on Twitter he says it was late questioning, so it's going to probably come across a bit similar to some of the ones we've already answered. Martial switch. Maddison and Pulisic the alternatives. Pulisic tempting by the West Ham game. What do you think? Hold for Villa home or sell for any of these two? Or if so, is it better to sell Salah plus Connolly to get Firmino and a 7.7 mil defender? Well, first of all, I would say I'm not sure about Firmino. I don't know about you guys.
Agreed.
I think there's probably better options at that price. Are we all agreed on that, Jay?
I would say don't come to me because I was doing something related to the stream and
Okay.
I didn't hear the majority of that question.
No worries. So yeah, I think if you're gonna sell Salah and Connolly, I would consider somebody other than Firmino personally. And then what do we think about selling Martial, guys? Did he just have a quiet one in the last match, do we think? Or do we just think if we're going to look at anyone United besides Pogba when he's back? So, I'm just keeping that fresh in everyone's minds. I should have put that as my player to get, shouldn't I?
Not a chance now.
Yeah. Would we consider Maddison or Pulisic for Martial? It's an old woman Martial, isn't it? He's a bit fits and starts. He's a bit like Zaha, really. When he's on it, he's like...
He can't decide if he wants to play well or crap, basically.
Yeah.
Same with Firmino. Exactly the same with Firmino, on and off.
Yeah.
I personally would just have to... Both of those other options sound more consistent to me. In midfield. And I'm still leaning towards Rashford as far as the Man United option goes.
Yeah.
If I was going to have a Man United player.
Same. I mean, I could have easily done that whole Son Martial thing, and yet the Martial thing I think is the bit that's playing on me, and I'm just like, I think I'd rather get Pulisic in there and have triples Chelsea, or consider not getting Sonny at all and go with Rashford up front. That's not to say I don't think Martial will do well, because I mean, he does have good fixtures and can easily nick something. But I think he's going to be one of those players you will have to hold and wait for your returns, as opposed to it being kind of, a big spur. So do we have any more questions from the chat before we go to Jeffers Corner?
I think that's everything. One of the questions in the chat was semi-relating to that question. It was about Mourinho derby. He said, question, Mourinho derby at Old Trafford, who's a better bet? Martial, Son, Rashford or Kane? So he's sort of gone into most of that there, and a lot of questions about who to bench. So I think we've covered anything, and if not, I say I will. Fingers crossed I'll find the time to answer any other questions in the chat on Instagram. I'm very busy at the moment. I do apologise, but I will get back to it sooner or later.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So over to Jeffers Corner, and at Austin66 UK is asking, which of the 7 dwarfs do you think you are most like? And and he said, to save you the trouble of Googling, the choices between...
Oh, there we go. Okay,
Bashful, Sneezy, Sleepy, Dopey, Grumpy, Happy, and Doc. So, Jay, which 7 dwarf are you most like?
Well, while I was ill over the weekend, I was a few of those. I was Sneezy, Sleepy, and Dopey.
Yeah.
And Grumpy, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's really a struggle for me because I don't know which one I would actually go with. I'm not happy enough all of the time to really say happy, but I do like to sleep, but I don't get to anymore because I have children. Sneezy, I'm not. Is anyone sneezy? Like, I wouldn't consider myself bashful. I'd hope I wasn't dopey. So that leaves Grumpy and Dot. I can get grumpy, so I suppose I'd go grumpy. Process of elimination. That's the only way I can do it. And I think grumpy would probably be the one that describes me the most.
I'm a bit like you. I think I'm all of these, depending on what day it is or what time of day it is. Because I can be just as grumpy if I get hangry. So if I don't get food, I can be quite grumpy. But I did look up all of the traits of these just so that I could try and get a bit more of an idea of who does what. And Doc apparently is very wise and likes to think carefully about his problems. He tries to be the leader, but he's not always very good at it because he gets very nervous. So I would probably say that's most like me, although I'm not very wise. So, yeah, but I definitely like to think things over a lot. I probably do a lot of overthinking, probably way too much, to be honest. But yeah. I guess we've all got a bit of 7 dwarves in us. But what about you, Graham? If you had to pick one?
Yeah, like you say, if you're basically a bit of everything, because we've all got emotions. Winter comes, you'll sneeze more. We all like to sleep, we get grumpy, and this is all FPL related.
Yes.
So it's Doc for me, because you have to think your decisions over. Yeah. And that's the best answer I can come up with, really.
Yeah, cool. And Kurt, what about yourself?
I couldn't be any further from being Doc.
You're dopey, aren't you?
Well, I mean, to be Doc, you've got to think about your decisions, and I've made a transfer for like the 8th time in a row on a Wildcat stream, so generally do not think about my decisions. I think, oh, it looks good, transfer, and then regret it afterwards.
Pretty.
Oh, Aurea.
Yeah, exactly. Shiny things. Aurea. Bye.
I'd have to go, albeit once I'm in my comfort zone and everything, I'm all right, but I'm most likely to be bashful, I'd say, because generally if it's new things are out and about, I'm quite shy. I don't really like to draw attention to myself unless I've got a camera in my face and I'm on a live stream with a few other people. So,
or he's got a few cocktails in him.
Not at the moment, no.
Triple captain hits.
Yeah.
Check out the vlog.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just personality. Oh.
Okay, so do we have the polls then, please?
We don't, because I have no idea where they are on this new studio thing.
We're doing very well tonight. I'm so sorry about this.
We will learn. I will learn this new studio thing. I'll figure out where everything is. But I didn't know they would force it on me today. I literally thought I'd use the old one, and yeah.
That's YouTube, by the way, people. YouTube has changed.
She said,
no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. YouTube has changed how we live stream now, so there's a lot of new stuff to get used to. Hence us being a little later than we would have hoped.
And the chat looking different. But...
Yes, but yes, we're working on it. You always get something new and different with us. You'd hate us if we were perfect and boring. That's why you love us. Okay, cool. Do you want to wrap it up then, Jay?
So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you to Graham, Fantasy Football Focus, for joining us as well. Much appreciated. Do go and check out his channel. Links should be in the description down below. And make sure to stay tuned to us on all our social media platforms. Subscribe, of course, here on YouTube. Hit that notification bell. Go follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. And we will see you all next week.
Yep. Bye, guys.